Happy Wednesday and welcome to the TRIBEvibe, a meditation series. We are here today, and honey, when I tell you, my tripod was trying to take me out, so that's how come we're like a quarter of a second late. But we in the building, and we're going to talk about some things that got to do with stuff like that falling apart. And you know what? We're just going to keep it pushing. So today, we are talking about what? Mindfulness. We got to share real quick. Hold on. All right. We're talking about mindfulness today. So we talked about mindfulness. Hey, Nick. We talked about mindfulness yesterday. And I kind of gave you guys some examples of, what goes on in my life. Because, like I said, y'all not here to talk to me, so I got to talk to y'all. So I just make up your half of the conversation. That's usually how it goes with me. So, just stick along for the ride. But today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into some mindfulness. So we're going to talk about some definitions and fun stuff like that, Well, fun stuff to me. You're going to learn for it to be fun if you don't think it's fun already. But before we get into all that, you know what I want you to do? I want you to tell your mama, sister, brother, cousin, auntie, and them. So I want you guys to share. Take your finger. Click the share button right now so we can get some more people on here. We're trying to reach one, teach one. So you, the person, is reaching one. So I need you to reach one with your share button. And then also, if you know somebody personally that you think could benefit from getting on here and learning some little gems, reach out and tell them, hey, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we live at 7 Eastern on Facebook, Instagram. And if you don't catch it then, you can catch the playback. And guess what? We on YouTube now too. Woo. Anyway, I had to give myself a little pat on the back for that because, honey, it took 2 weeks. Not because it needed to take 2 weeks, just because I had other things to do. But anyway, as usual, giving out too much information. So, today, let's jump into it. Let's jump into what is mindfulness. Okay, you guys ready? All right, here we go. All right, so mindfulness basically is, I'm going to read you the definition. I don't want to mess it up. Okay, y'all ready? The mental state achieved by focusing on awareness of the present moment and accepting feelings, thoughts, body sensations. That's it, right? Like something simple, Sometimes these words seem so unattainable, or just they seem so highfalutin. Are just, they're not normal. But when you realize what the real definition of is achieved by focusing on awareness, I'm pretty sure you probably do that every day, right? So really what the real crux of it is just learning how to do it when you need to do it and making sure that you're aware of how often you're doing it, right? Just something simple. Just little tweaks here and there. Ain't nobody coming in here asking you to change everything overnight. That's not what we're doing because it's not realistic. It ain't what I did, and it ain't what I'm going to ask you to do. All right. So now that we know that, I feel like, that's an easy digestible thing. Just state of being aware. Okay? Recognizing your feelings, recognizing how your body physically feels, some of the emotions that you're going through. Okay. All right, stay with me because we're going to go a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole. So, what are some of the benefits of mindfulness, right? Because, like I said, I don't want you out here in these streets living your best life but not really knowing what you're doing, or telling somebody else about something that you don't really have all the details to. We want to make sure you got all the details, okay? So we're going to talk about what the benefits of mindfulness are. And I know if you've been with us for the last 3 weeks doing the meditation, which is a technique of mindfulness, you probably have noticed some differences. So when I list off these things, have you noticed some of the differences after you've been meditating? So it helps you to reduce stress and anxiety. That's what we talked about last week. And we talked about how don't nobody like to be stressed out. So mindfulness techniques help you to do that. They also help you to reduce pain. And so that's a big one. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, but that is a huge one. Being able to reduce some pain by just thinking. And I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but once I realized that was something that you could do, then I challenged myself because I'm one of those people, I want to see it in real life, right? So after I realized, you can well, not unthink. It's kind of like shift your focus from having pain into to another place, right? Like you put your focus somewhere else. So it's like, I don't know if you've ever been having a really good time. Okay, you know what? I got an example. Ladies, have you ever been at the club? I'm sorry, fellas, like some of my examples are gonna be female skewed because that's who I am, and if y'all feet hurt probably too when y'all get new dress shoes. But if your feet ever hurt because you're in some shoes, but you having such a good time that you ain't think about it until you sat down in the car, or like after you left from the place and you were walking home, that's an easy example of how you can kind of unthink through some pain. Pain centers and stimulation still will be there, but if you choose not to focus on them mentally, then it lessens the pain. Okay. Another thing it can help with is depression. And we'll get more into that tomorrow about how come, but that's another major thing that mindfulness can help. It can also help with insomnia. We talked about some of that yesterday about, sitting in the bed and practicing some of those like relaxation techniques of starting with your big toe and relaxing your big toe and the next toe and the next toe and then your foot and then your ankle and then up your leg. That can help with insomnia because, you're physically practicing, relaxation during the times when you're not able to sleep, but also overall. So just practicing meditation on an everyday basis or practicing mindfulness on an everyday basis can help with insomnia, right? Like this is all gold, right? Like, okay, if you didn't know about the mindfulness, you know today. Okay, so that's only half the list. Let me finish telling you. So it can also help with high blood pressure. We'll get into that more tomorrow. Because I read that and I was like, it also helps with diabetes control. And y'all know I read that and I was like, I gotta go dig deeper. I didn't have time to dig deeper today. I didn't know that was on the list of, high blood pressure I did, because we did talk about that the other day about, just being stressed and how, of course, that increases your high blood pressure because, you constantly got that cortisol level and all those things going, right? But honey, diabetes control, we're gonna have to figure that out. So y'all stay tuned for tomorrow. We're gonna figure out how does mindfulness help to manage diabetes, because I need to know, okay? Because there's a few people I could tell about that one. And then also, it helps with job burnout. I don't think I need to explain that one. If you've ever been at a job and it's on your nerves all the time, you could understand how practicing mindfulness, which is also going to help you to reduce your stress levels and, help you sleep better and help you lead a job, that painful job where it's at, right? Not focus on the painful thing. You can understand how that'll help. And like we said, improve sleep. It can also improve attention. So it's so funny, and I'm not gonna call out the person that I was having this conversation with, but I don't think I can't tell you exactly when, as far as year wise. I remember the moment that it happened. I was watching one of the OG content creators, and he had his family, and it was him, his wife, and I want to say his 3 kids. I think there were 3 of them. And he sat with them on the camera and showed everybody how to do this. And what he would have the kids do is practice kind of a meditation, focus, mindfulness, all combined in one technique of staring at a candle flame, right? So you stare at it for a certain amount of time. You close your eyes and you challenge your brain to imagine the candle flame, right? And so you challenge your brain to do that as long as it can. And after you continue to do that over and over again, then it becomes easier and easier, right? Like that's the exercise of focus, right? Being able to have your brain stay on that. If you guys been doing the meditation with me, and I'm telling you now, I've been doing meditation before I got on here with y'all, and it's still sometimes challenging for me to stay focused on what I'm supposed to be focused on. So imagine trying to hold an image of a candle flame in your head. And the kids, because kids are amazing, especially, when you start doing stuff like that with them from an early age. They was like, oh yeah, my flame morphed. It turned into a couple different colors, and mine used to get big and small. And I'm like, just kids and their brains and their creativity. And sometimes you just have to look at them in awe, because it's just like, oh my God, they're just so fluid, and I love it. But anyway, I digress. It can help you with attention, because intention is a practice skill. That's what I was trying to say after that example. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was just explaining to the person, I'm not even going to tell you the gender, I was explaining to the person that focus and attention is really practiced, and we challenge kids when they do not do it, but not, I don't think, in the most productive way. it's usually a punishment when they're not focusing on something, right? And I don't know if this is just black families. For my people that are not black, can you drop in the comment and let me know if this happens in your household? But for black families, honey, if you ain't never had your mama tell you that you was gonna be in trouble, if you asked her to help you find something and she knew where it was and you was standing right in front of it and you couldn't see it, and she like, if I come in there and find it, you gonna be in trouble. And so then you really looking. I don't know what percentage of the time after the threat helped for you to find it or not. But I did read some interesting facts the other day that, there's just, until a certain point in time, your brain is just really not developed enough for you really to hone in on that focus. So really, all the black parents out there, let's not continue that cycle, okay? Until these babies are of a certain age, it could be staring them in their face. If it was a snake, it would have bit them. And they still may not be able to see it. Blame it on their brain development, okay? Like, charge it to the brain development, not to their heart, okay? I'm sorry, y'all. I done went down a rabbit hole with that one because it's just funny to me. But so don't forget, drop in a comment because I really want to know if that's just black families or if other people do that too. But anyway, attention is a practice skill. Practicing mindfulness, things such as meditation, deep breathing techniques, different things. We'll go over some more of that tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be when I tell you how to implement what we're talking about. But yeah, those things can really, really, really help you. And if you think about focus, I don't know in what aspect of life could you not do better with having more focus. Like, if you think of something that you don't need to focus on and having the ability to focus better would be a negative thing, let me know, because I can't even think of one. So, sharing is caring. We want to make sure I ain't out here telling falsehoods and stories. So if you could think of one, let me know. All right. So those are some of the benefits. Now, that was a whole good, healthy, hearty list of things. I'm never trying to convince you to do what we're doing. I'm only showing up and practicing. And if you get on here and the vibe is right and you think, you know what, I'm going to keep coming back. And then you start noticing some changes, then you be the person to go and you spread and share the story, okay? I'm the facilitator. You be the student to go out into the world and teach it. Okay. Anyway, I'm being silly today. Y'all know every once in a while I get silly. I think it's the earrings today. Last week it was that big fluffy thing I had on. Today it's the earrings. So whenever I get a little razzle dazzle, I might get a little silly. But anyway, so after we talked about the definition, we talked about the benefits, and now we're going to talk about some skills that actually happen when you're practicing mindfulness. Okay? So like we were talking about focus before, the first one is concentration. And I don't know who named it. I don't know who named it, y'all. I don't know who named it. And I probably could have told you because I probably could have looked it up. But I was reading the article and I was like, this don't make no sense. Why y'all would name this concentration when all of the other words that you could have used, and you gonna name it concentration and then literally say after concentration, we don't mean concentrating like concentrating. Basically what concentration means in this context is kind of what we talked about last week, is just kind of being like aware, and really just kind of like being present minded, right? So we gonna call it present minded because I'm not gonna keep calling it concentration and challenging y'all to remember that that's not what it is. So being present, right? So that is one of the major skills that you gain by practicing mindfulness techniques on a continuous basis. So, I talked to you about some examples yesterday, and that was like maybe 3 or 4 different ways that you could do it. We'll talk about more tomorrow, but there are so many different things you could do to implement mindfulness into your daily routine. It is not just about like sitting down with me 3 days a week and doing our meditation. Like I said yesterday, something as simple as when I'm in a stressful situation, choosing to focus on something positive. You can always find something positive. And I found this term like a few years ago and I was like, ooh, that's some real stuff right there. It was like, there's such a thing as positive toxicity. Toxic positivity? Toxic positivity. Basically what they were saying was, you could be so positive that you just kind of negate all of the real stuff that's happening because you out here trying to be positive and keep your vibes high and everything like that. And it's great to be able to get to a place where the majority, right, like the heavy part of your life is in the positive, right? But we all know that things are going to happen. And sometimes you may not be able to be like show up in your best positivity. You just may not be able to, and that's okay. But when we're talking about staying present minded, we want to try to find something that is like what we tend to do is catastrophize things, right? Like, okay, it's a real word. I didn't make it up. And we tend to focus on the things that are the most challenging, the things that are the most stressful, the things that we can't control the most. We talked about that a couple of episodes ago about, you can't control that weather. So, you got to control how you feel about the weather. And so we tend to do that. And so it takes us out of being able to focus on something that is positive. And so staying present minded, that's obviously a great thing because you want to be engaged in whatever you're doing, right? Like we're increasing our ability to have the attention and the focus. And then you also want to be present because if you're not present, you're going to look up and your life will have just passed you by and you will not have been there for any of it, even though you were physically there, right? But then also it gives you the opportunity to pause and to say, okay, if this is a stressful situation, then what can I do, right? Because you can't change the stressful situation. You can only change your perspective on the stress, right? And so when we have those moments of concentrating, I'm going to say it again. When we have those moments of staying present, then that allows you to be in control of the situation. And I challenge myself when I say the word control because I know a lot of us are in a defense mechanism when we're exercising control. But this is a healthy way, right? Oh, you know what? We'll say this because this is an example I use for myself. Being in the driver's seat of your own car, right? Like the car is your life and your circumstances, right? I want you to be in the driver's seat with both your hands on the wheel, both feet on the pedal, and the ability to shift the gears where you want to, right? I don't want you in the trunk of your own car. So who knows? Somebody else, something else driving your car. Like that's never where I want you to be, right? So what we're doing when we're staying present is being able to make sure that we are in the proper seat of our own vehicle. Okay? All right. Role players, put them where they're supposed to be at. They ain't supposed to be in the driver's seat. You're supposed to be in the driver's seat. Okay, I'm going to come off the pulpit. Anyway, the next skill that you'll gain by continuing to practice mindfulness on a regular basis is open monitoring. Okay? So this is the step beyond being present, right? So the first thing you need to do is be present. So you got to make sure that you're actually there and aware. And then the next step is to do the open monitoring, right? And so that's what Andy, I just love Andy. I say that every episode. I just love Andy. Andy gives me all the vibes. But anyway, that's what Andy always talks about when he's saying like, make sure that you're aware. Like take a moment and just think about like, what do you hear? How do you feel? Are you feeling relaxed? Is anything tense? Just overall, how do you feel? Sometimes you just kind of be in a funk and you don't really know why. And I don't know how often you take a moment to really sit down with yourself and think about it. I know sometimes I have thought. I don't know how many times I have thought myself out of a funk because I took a second and thought like, what's really wrong? And I'm like, ain't nothing wrong. Just Oscar the Grouch. Like I tell y'all, sometimes I get to be an Oscar the Grouch because I be hungry. And I need a Snickers. I haven't seen none of them commercials in a long time. They still playing now? But anyway, so that is the next step. So first step, be present-minded, right? Be presently aware of what's going on. Second step is to open monitor. So actually just take stock of everything. What's going on around you. Maybe you crabby because you hot. Or because you cold, or because you sleepy, right? You ain't never going to know. And if you don't never know, then how are you going to mitigate those things, right? We're not going to call them fixing. Because there's a lot of things in life that we should not be attempting to try to fix. We try to mitigate, right? So how are you going to be able to be in the driver's seat of your car if you ain't paying attention? So that's the next skill you're going to gain by practicing mindfulness on a continuous basis. And you guys are here with me today. So guess what you're doing is practicing mindfulness. So you about to get some of these skills today, honey. So I need you to keep on practicing because I don't see, again, put it in the comment if you think that there's something other than greatness that is going to come from you having one of these skills, because I don't know what it is. Let me know. Okay, so also another skill that you're going to gain from practicing mindfulness on a regular basis is your ability to be well, last time we talked about this, I called it like having grace for yourself. And that's generally what I like, the terminology I like to use. They said self-compassion, but I actually like to say having grace, because I think it is very, very, very important that we just give ourselves a break, honey, because nobody else is riding around with us every day. We the only person in here. We the only person. And when you look back, think about it like if you could write the story of your life, right? And think about what would the cliff notes say? Like, what would how they write on the back of the book? Like, what would it say? What would the synopsis of your life be? And when I look back on mine, I don't want it to be that I spent all of my time criticizing myself, all of my time not being able to live in the joyous moments because I wasn't present, or because I was grumpy and didn't assess why I was grumpy, so I just stayed grumpy for grumpy's sake. That's not the story I want to be told. I want people to get up. If you know anything about me, share in a personal moment. If you know anything about me, you know what, I don't know how many people I've told this to, but if anybody ever asks me or we get on the topic, I generally will tell people, I'm not shy to tell them, I don't really want no funeral. Like, I do not want y'all staring at my dead body. I understand it's a closure thing. I understand it's a closure thing. I was just about to tell y'all, but that ain't what I want. I was about to say, y'all can do that. I ain't gonna be here. But I really don't want that. What I really want is a celebration, right? Like, I want people to come together and have a good time. Y'all know, if y'all know anything about me, go Google me. No, you might not find it on Google. But if you look at my page, you're going to see some food, honey. Because I love to cook. I love to eat. I love good seasoned food, okay? And a good plant-based food, okay? I just want to make sure y'all hear me. A good plant-based, okay? I'm not going to go. That's not the topic for today. But I just want everybody to have a celebration, because I just feel like if I'm gone, the last thing I don't want y'all to do is sit up crying about the fact that I'm gone, right? Like, that's nothing we can change. Like, I don't want y'all to be happy for happy's sake, but I mean, I run around in this world and I really try to, for the majority of the interactions I have, I can't. I mean, so I ran into a Karen the other day, and it ain't nothing I could do about running into a Karen, okay, honey? She was going to be Karen regardless of how I showed up, right? I even tried to get Karen to do a little better, and Karen was going to be Karen, okay? But for the majority of the interactions I have in my life, I'm really trying to leave some positivity. Like, just because, why not? Like, life is short, and the last thing I want to be doing is leaving some sour taste in people's mouth. And not because I'm showing up in any different way. That's just who I choose to be, right? And so, with all that being said, I'm saying, if you sit back and think about, like, what's the story of your life? Have you been exercising compassion? Because like I said, you're the only person here with you every day. Have you taken the time to make sure that, I know a lot of us will go out of our way to be compassionate and empathetic and forgiving and understanding for other people? How often are you exercising that for yourself? I know I told y'all the story about the scarf the other day. We're not going to talk about that story again. But that was just a simple example of how, like, I walked out and looked crazy and looked in the mirror and was like, could have beat myself up, right? Because there are times when we have done that over something as frivolous as your scarf being not how you wanted it to be, right? But then, what was the point of that, right? And so there are huge times, those little things that I do to practice that on a regular basis when it comes a big time, because that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to wait till life is crumbling and falling apart for you to be like, oh my God, excuse me, for you to be like, oh my God, now I need to try to implement some of those things. You practice, habit, master, right? We keep talking about that. First you got to practice it, then it becomes a habit, and then you can master it, right? And so you can't show up game 7 thinking that you about to hit all these shots and you wasn't in the gym shooting, right? And so you got to practice it those itty bitty little small times. So then when something crazy does happen, right? Like when you didn't do something right, you lost some money, you got in a car accident, you said the wrong thing to the wrong person, you was having a bad day at work, and so you cut somebody out, now your job gone. Y'all know it's a whole, I could sit here for days talking about different times that having that ability to exercise that compassion for yourself is imperative. Like, it is non-negotiable. Okay, if you don't get nothing else from today, I want you to get that it is non-negotiable for you not to exercise compassion, aka grace, for yourself on a daily basis in every situation. Now, I'm not saying that. I got to get a disclaimer. I don't want you to be out here enabling yourself, okay? I don't want you to say that, you need to do XYZ. You need to do that homework. You need to submit that application. You need to start that business you've been wanting to start. Whatever. I don't want you to say that and be like, oh, I'm giving myself some grace, so I haven't done it, so it's okay. Y'all know that ain't what I'm saying, okay? Because we'll talk about discipline another week. We're going to spend a whole week on talking about discipline. But I just wanted to leave you guys with that nugget because, honey, I mean, it's a whole game changer. And if you don't believe me, I ain't gonna tell you to add Google, not add me today. If you don't believe me, practice it. I kid you not. If you know me, you know. I'm gonna tell you a bunch of stuff, right? Like, it just is by default because I got a whole bunch of random facts in here and they're gonna spill out from at some point in time when we're talking about something, because I tend to have relationships that next thing we know, we down a rabbit hole talking about something. We supposed to be there having fun, and our kicks and giggles are being down a rabbit hole talking about something serious, right? And sometimes I do share with people things that they don't necessarily want to know. I'm going to share with all of you guys right now. Microwaves are bad for you. Not like standing in front of the microwave. Anyway, now I'm going to tell you to add Google, don't add me. But, different things like that I'll tell people from time to time. And sometimes I'm like, just try it. I don't want you to believe me. I mean, I guess you got to believe me somewhat to try it. But I want you to be able to show up in your full self and really try some of these things. And be real with yourself after you've tried it for, a little bit of time. I tell people when they trying to, change their eating habits, I'm like, just pick one thing and get rid of it. And tell me you don't start to feel better. Like after a couple weeks, tell me you didn't notice a difference. And this is the same thing. You don't gotta believe me, use yourself as a guinea pig and go out here. It ain't gonna hurt you none to try to practice some mindfulness. If you haven't been doing it, try to practice some grace, try it. Let me know how it works. That's your homework for today. I didn't even know what homework we was gonna give you today. That's your homework for today. Go out there and exercise an excessive amount of self-compassion. Okay. Anyway, our last skill is when we practice mindfulness. I keep repeating this because I want y'all to make sure that you're with me, because I go off on a tangent. And I hope you all appreciate the tangents, honey, because it's a lot of years worth of living for me to have all these stories to tell y'all that don't make sense about nothing. And then guess what? There's also a lot of years of practicing coming back to the point, honey. Okay? Anyway. I told you I was silly today. Our last skill, when you practice mindfulness on a regular basis, that you will gain is balance. And I don't mean balance like, I guess you could think about balance like, your body being balanced. Balance like a sense of peace, a sense of calm. Like, when you see that little, the figure of people meditating, or the chakra figure and they sitting cross legs with their hands. Balance, centeredness. You can get that from practicing mindfulness. And you know why you get that from practicing mindfulness? Y'all ready for me to run it down again? Because the first thing you do is show up for yourself. The second thing you do is be aware of what's happening. In literally everything that's happening, right? Show up, be aware of what's happening. Third thing you do is give yourself some grace when things ain't going the way they're going, or celebrate yourself. Let's add that to the grace, honey. Because my therapist said it yesterday, and she was on one. So let's add that to it, okay? After you practice the grace, Because you probably going to have to practice that more than you practice to celebrating, right? So you can get out of the Oscar the Grouch, get out the trash can. After you do that, then what I want you to do is I want you to practice some celebration, okay? We're going to, like Rick James said. Was it Rick James, y'all? It was Rick James. It was Dave Chappelle playing Rick James, and he was like, it's a celebration. That's how I want y'all to pop up on yourself, okay? Every morning, whenever you did something, you make that coffee, it's a celebration, okay? You know why? Because who else going to do it? Throw your own parade, honey. You ain't got to wait for nobody else to throw you a parade. Throw your own parade. Anyway, I'm coming back. So after you do all them 3 things, be present, stay open so that you can make sure you're aware of what's going on. After that, practice some grace, and it's a celebration. Then what you're going to do, you're going to find that you're more balanced, right? Simple math. Y'all know I always say simple math. We ain't trying to make it complicated. These things are I'm trying to make them as digestible as possible, right? Because what I don't want us to do is get on here. I have to show up in somewhat of an expert capacity, right? For you guys, right? Because we can't be on here learning together. I said that earlier. Y'all ain't talking to me. Y'all talking to chat. But y'all not talking to me, so we can't work it out together. So I do have to show up somewhat as an expert, right? But I want to make it such like a talkable conversation, right? I don't know if that makes sense. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to make it very relatable and personal, because what I don't want somebody to do is this be their first interaction with any of these terms, right? Any of these practices, any of this, just even showing up for yourself. Y'all know that we all have met somebody that we know they don't show up for themselves very often. And like, if you don't look at somebody like that and have compassion for them, like sometimes it ain't always the easiest thing to always have compassion with them, because usually them grumpy people want you to be grumpy too, honey, and they be trying to mess with you. But in the midst of that, if you really sit down and think about it, you can have compassion for people like that, because you just got to realize, like, they got to be miserable. Like, I mean, you can't show up like that all the time and be happy when you by yourself, right? And so, like, what the last thing I want is for somebody, not to that extreme, but just somebody who has never been able to show up in any of these ways for themselves to come on here and me be just talking at such a high level that they don't understand. So I'm trying to make it as relatable as possible. So I hope that I'm able to do that for y'all, because, honey, if you know anything, you know, sis done opened a self-care and wellness business, okay, right? We want to live holistic lifestyles, right? What that means that from the rooter to the tutor, everything is a homogeneous mixture, okay? Me and the verbs today, they're not. Anyway, everything is homogeneous, right? So that means that everything moves together. You can't separate it out. Like, you can't separate hating your job and come home and act like that's not going to affect who you are at home, or how you show up in your eating habits, how you sleep. When you on the road, do you have road rage? So now that you all crazy about that, now when it's time for you to sit down and make that budget because you want to get your finances together, do you have the energy to do it? Do you see how I could just keep on snowballing over and over again, and the next thing you know it, the molehill's a mountain? I don't want y'all to be stuck in them cycles, right? And so that's why we here. We just unpacking it one sock at a time, honey. Okay, one headband at a time. Like, we might not even get the whole sock up out of there. If you got to take a thread out at a time, that's fine with me, because I want to meet you where you are on your journey, right? Like, this is the whole thing that Black Amethyst is doing. We trying to meet you where you are on your journey. So I started this. I done got down a rabbit hole. Y'all stay with me. I'm coming back. But I started this because I really have a passion for it, and I really feel like that I see a lot of people, they just don't have it in their toolkit. I didn't always have it in my toolkit. It ain't that I grew up with I was about to say a gang of hippies. That ain't what I really mean. It's not that I grew up with people that practice this. Let's just call it what it is. I didn't grow up with people that practiced it. My auntie I think she's still on here now, but she's telling me the other day, she's like, they do this every day, because she's a social worker now, right? And she works in mental health. And so, like, in her adult life, she gained these skills, right? And she's practicing it every day, right? But when I was little, nobody was talking to me about this on this level. I don't know if any of our parents really were, because I don't know what capacity we really had, you know? And so we here now, and we gonna be great now, honey. We ain't talking about none of what we coulda, shoulda, woulda done. We here now, and we gonna move from here forward. All right. All right, I'm done talking to y'all. I love you. We're about to do our meditation. So you guys ready? We're going to do our housekeeping as usual. So what I want you to do is, I'm going to tell you again, hit the share button. I'm going to keep telling y'all to hit the share button. I ain't got no shame in my game. Go on, hit the share button. We trying to get some more people, okay? Hit the share button, like, subscribe, follow, all those things. The housekeeping for the meditation is, I just want you to be comfortable. You can sit down. Don't stand up. Sit down, lay down. All I need is for your back and your neck to be straight. Arms, legs, they can be wherever you want them to be. Just be comfortable. Try to lessen some of the distracting things that are around you. If you can't get rid of all of them, that's okay. And then nothing else. That's all the instructions. I tell y'all every session. All you need to do is show up. And I'm going to tell y'all that every time. Because I want you to make sure that you know when you're here, all you need to do is show up. All right, my loves. We're going to start our meditation. We're going to get on here. Y'all know where it's at. It's on Netflix. And it's Andy and them. A guided meditation. I don't know if I'm saying that title right. I think my brain is losing that title today. It's Headspace. That's the name of the production company. It's on Netflix. They're like 7 or 8 episodes worth of different techniques that Andy is a Buddhist monk. And he guides you through all these different techniques. If you haven't got a chance to get on there, I tell everybody every time, get on there. I absolutely adore this series. I absolutely adore Andy. And I love to have all the information so I could be more active in my practice. So I want you to be active in your practice too. So today we're going to listen to the meditation about mindfulness, right? Because that's what we're practicing today. So, all right, my loves, you ready? You comfortable? All right, here we go. Oh, you know what it's saying on me. Hold on.
Or eyes closed, whichever you prefer. The most important thing is to make sure that you're not going to be physically disturbed for the next few minutes or so. So just as you're getting comfortable, just a reminder, especially with this technique, to just allow thoughts to come and go. We're not trying to stop thoughts. We're not trying to change the mind. We're just witnessing the coming and going of thoughts. Remember that in this exercise, in particular, it doesn't require any effort. In fact, perhaps more than any other technique, we are simply letting go of everything. So there's no need to try and achieve anything. And finally, with this particular technique, know that it's really common to get lost, for the mind to wander, that it takes a little bit of practice. We're going to start with the eyes open, just aware of the space around you. So not looking at one thing, but just a soft focus of everything around you. And just maintaining that soft focus. Taking a couple of big deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And each time as you breathe in, just noticing how the lungs fill with air each time, and breathing out, noticing how the muscles in the body soften as the body exhales. And just one more time, this next time as you breathe out, if you'd like to, just gently closing the eyes. And first thing, just take a moment, knowing you have nothing to do, nowhere to go for the next few minutes. Just enjoying that feeling of having stopped, of being still. Just starting to notice that feeling of weight, the body pressing down into the seat, on the surface beneath you. Starting to notice the sounds around you, noticing any resistance to those sounds. And just reminding yourself to allow any sounds to come and go. throughout the exercise. And as you bring the attention back to the body, just starting to get a sense of how the body feels today. So not thinking about it, but just noticing whether there's a sense of stillness in the body or a sense of agitation. Whether there's a sense of heaviness in the body or a sense of lightness. And in the same way, just starting to notice the breath, the movement of the breath, and how the breath feels today. Where in the body you feel that rising and falling sensation. Remember, as always, if you can't feel that rising and falling movement, just gently placing your hand on your stomach. And just staying with that movement. So just settling the body, settling the mind, allowing thoughts to come and go. But just staying with the breath. Just for a few moments longer. So throughout this exercise, we're going to alternate. Every now and again we'll come back to the breath, but mostly we're just going to rest in awareness. Again, I'll guide you through as we go. So letting go of any focus on the breath now. Just allowing the mind to do whatever it wants to do. So if the mind wants to think, let it think. If the mind wants to be busy, let it be busy. Just allow the mind to be completely free. Remember, the only thing you need to remember is to realize when the mind has wandered. And in that moment, in realizing it, the mind is no longer wandering. And we're already back where we need to be. So just allowing the mind to do whatever it wants to do. So allowing thoughts to come and go, even if they're thoughts about the exercise, just allowing them to come and then go again. So we're aware of the activity of the mind without getting involved in the activity of the mind. And then just gently picking up that movement of the breath again. Just going to stay here for a few seconds. So just pausing, again becoming aware of that rising and falling movement. And then once again letting go of that. And for a few moments longer, just letting the mind be free again. Letting it do whatever it wants to do. To remember in this exercise, truly, nothing to do. No need to focus on anything. No need to think about anything. Just allowing everything to come and go. Seeing it clearly as it does. And then just gently bring the attention back once again to the body. Coming back to that feeling of contact and of weight between the body and the seat or the surface beneath you. Starting maybe to become more aware of the sounds around you. And whenever you feel ready, you can just gently open the eyes again. As always, just take a moment to notice how it feels in the body, how it feels in the mind. And from this meditation, hopefully, we'll find a sense of limitless potential, with the intention to carry a more spacious, more peaceful quality of mind into everyday life.
All right, bye, Andy. How are y'all feeling? How y'all feel today? I didn't ask y'all that. I've been forgetting lately to ask y'all at the beginning, how are you feeling today? It's part of us being present-minded, right? Like, how you been feeling? So, I want to just remind everybody what we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes. So, I just want to recap real quick. Your homework, I'm going to tell you your homework at the very end. The very last thing is supposed to be the thing. You know, recency and... Okay, we're not going to... That's... Anyway. If you know what I'm talking about. The very last thing. The first thing, the last thing, primacy, recency. Okay, anyway. That's for another day. So, we're going to go over these skills one more time because I think it is very... I just like how it's just kind of like they just all flow together. Like skills that you get from practicing mindfulness, things like meditation. We'll talk about more mindfulness techniques tomorrow that you can implement. Excuse me. First thing you get, or first thing you're able to get is to be present, right? We want to be present. Then what do we want to do after we're present? We want to be open and aware of how are we feeling, emotionally, how are we feeling physically, like what things are around us and how are we interacting with those things, right? After that, we want to practice some grace, give ourselves some compassion. We want to do the celebration because like I said, we adding that into it now too. I'm like, it's a celebration. From now on, I'm going to keep reminding y'all to celebrate yourself. And then the last thing is be balanced. Get that peace and that calm and that ability to be still. We'll practice those things, okay? All right, so our homework for tomorrow was what? Y'all remember? It was to celebrate yourself and to practice the grace. Practice too much grace, okay? That is my homework for you, to practice too much grace in your life until tomorrow. And then after that, I don't know if we're going to have new homework or if I'm going to tell you to do that again, because I'm kind of liking this practice your grace and celebrate yourself. So that might be the homework for tomorrow too. But anyway, my loves, as always, thank you for joining me. I hope you have a rest of your evening. It's beautiful. I hope that you remember in the opportunities. I was going to say, I hope you have an opportunity too. I hope you remember when you have the opportunity to practice that grace and to celebrate yourself. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday for our last day this week. For our week of mindfulness. And tomorrow we'll be talking about some ways to practice mindfulness. So, giving you some of that good juju so that you can take it with you somewhere else, okay? That's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. And I will see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And if you haven't shared, I'm going to tell you to share again. Third time's a charm. Click the button, share again. Make sure you tell your mama, sister, brother, cousin, auntie, and them to come on the live with you. Be accountability partners so that you can make sure they show up and they can make sure you show up. So, all right, my loves. Self-love is the best love. I will see you guys tomorrow at 7. Bye-bye.